A new sketchbook?
Illustrations by me.
So a while ago, you remember, Lightwish contacted me. They wanted me to do the pastel thing, and I said, I'm really interested in your sketchbooks. I've seen a lot of people talk about them. I've never seen one in my hand. And they said, oh, well, why don't we just send one to you? So they did. And then I said, hey, would you mind giving one away to my audience? And they said, absolutely, no problem. Let's do that. So this is what they sent me. This is a different kind of sketchbook. This is not what I expected. I expected a sketchbook, you know, like the sketchbooks that you see up there. It's a different kind of sketchbook. So first thing about it is it's refillable. That's nice. If you like the book, you just keep replacing with whatever paper you want. I was just talking to someone about this. They said, oh, I like to make my own sketchbooks because I like to put my own paper in it. This would be a solution for anyone. It's a sketchbook that anyone can replace the paper into. So you take your Arches or your Lightwish paper, or whatever color paper you want. It doesn't matter. You put it in here. You punch some holes in it. I'll show you. But here's something that comes on the front of it. Look at this. Can you see yourself? I think you can. Oh, I got to move back a little bit. Can you see yourself? Oh, you look at you. Look at you standing up there all by yourself. Okay, so it's got this little mirror here. That's so that when I'm outside and I sneeze, I can check to make sure everything's okay. I don't have to take my watercolor. Did you ever take your watercolor that you're dabbing on and then guess what happens to your face? You get color all over your face. If you have not done that, you have not lived, my friend. So this here, you open this here, it's magnetic here. It's a magnetic closer, so it stays closed. It does have the little pocket in the front. This one has a little bit of glue sticking out on the edge there, just a little bit. Can you see that? Yeah. So don't worry about that. You know what doesn't fall apart? Something that has too much glue. You know what falls apart? Something that has no glue. Anyway, it is stitched, but also glued there, so it's flexible in the front. You can put some things in there. All you freaks with your sketchbooks that have little pockets in the back, you love to stuff leaves in them and acorns and stuff. Well, now you can do it right in the front. Don't worry about that. Okay, so then you open this, and it's got a little binder here. So, and it does have, I wouldn't recommend putting, you know, make some art cards and stick those in here. Maybe a swatch card of your palette and stick it right here. That's a great idea. Glad I thought of it. Make a little sketch card of your palette, the colors on your palette. Stick it right here in this little opening right here. You can put it right there instead of your ID. Someone could take this book very easily from you. But you could do that, or put a little thing, you know, return for reward in case you lose the thing. Some people do that too. Then you have to give people your phone number and your address and all that. I don't know about that. But anyway, it also has this bigger foldable thing here, so you can. I would probably stick a couple of pens in here or something and do that maybe. But anyway, that's just me. But yeah, you have this little other flap here. So lots of flaps for all you flap freaks. Then you go over here and the watercolor paper, I've never tried their paper and I don't really know anything about it. I should probably look that up before I do the video. I'm not a professional at all, but I have not looked at what kind of paper this is. All I know is it's Lightwish watercolor paper. That's what I know. And then there's a lot in here. They give you a lot of pages. But then when you run out, you just pop. Let me show you how easy it is. Let's see if I can do it the right way. Okay, so you just lift these little tabs here, and it pops open. Isn't that wonderful? You take those out, you put the new ones in, and you close it. Just punch a couple holes. It's not difficult. You can get a hand hole punch and punch a couple of these holes in no time. Or you can get the ones that have the three next to each other. They sell them in the store. You can go get one. I know you can. Especially if you get sent this book for free. You're not spending money on that. Go get the hole punch. And then you just get the three and you line it up, pop the holes, pop the other holes, stick it in here. You make as much. If you really want, if you do something in here that you really like, unlike a regular sketchbook, you just cut it right there and you can sell it. It's absolutely fine. It's wonderful. You just want to cut the holes out. You don't want the holes in the paper when you sell it to someone. Don't be weird. Anyway, I'm going to use this. I'm going to go ahead and use this and show you maybe what the paper's like a little bit and talk a little bit more about it. And to do that, I have been practicing very hard with these quill brushes. So the Golden Maple quills, the 2, 4, and 6, I have them here. I'm going to use them again. It's difficult. I'm not used to so much water in a brush. I did not realize how much. Like I said in the video when I showed you these, I haven't used quills very often, and I expected them to be different from rounds, and they are. They hold a lot of water. So you sometimes swipe around and you're like, oh no, I got to do, and there you go. You've put too much water on your page. So definitely difficult for the second layer, but I've been practicing. I think I can do this. So we're going to try it. Okay, let's get into it. So first I want to just point out that that little piece of fabric that was on the inside, I tore that right out. I thought maybe I shouldn't, but then it was loose and I could pull it right out from behind the spine, and I did. I think it was just to protect, there's little like divots in the finish on the inside. This is a very thick cover, by the way. It's like a faux leather on the inside and then a canvas on the outside. It's very sturdy. It will protect your work very well. But anyway, I tore that little piece of, it was just like a little piece of flannel thing. Not flannel, you know what I mean. It's a material that was behind the spine. I just tore it out. It wasn't a big deal. I think it was better without it. It was going to get in my way anyway. So I don't know if I was supposed to, but I did, and that's what happened. So the second thing I want to mention is, I don't want to forget to tell you that make sure you let me know if you want this book. You got to go down into the description, into the comments, not the description. You can't access the description. You go down into the comments and you say, hey, I would like to be entered for this book, and I will do that, and then I'll let them know who I pick. We'll do the same, the same thing. It's the same routine. On Friday, off camera, I'm going to pick the winner but record it. That video will be released on Saturday, and then you will know who won. So, and then that person will send me an email with their information and say, hey, it's me, and then I'll verify them, and then they'll get sent the book. So, but I will talk to Lightwish about that and say, hey, look, this is the person who won, and then they will send it to you. So, and where is this giveaway going to be open to? Well, in a twist of the century, it is, of course, going to be open to the U.S. and Canada and Australia. If you live in Australia, this one's open to you too. So U.S., Canada, and Australia, Lightwish will send one of these books over to a winner. It'll be wonderful, and you will enjoy it, and you will love it. I thought that was great to finally reach out a little bit further and hit Australia. That's wonderful of them. So they're doing that for us. And I think this is a good book. When I went ahead and started to really, I actually took it with me several times, and it works great. It was after I recorded this. I was like, well, let me just see how rugged it is. I threw it in my bag, no problem. I took it out. I went out to the park, no problem. Everything was wonderful with it. It didn't show any signs of wear. It didn't fall apart. It held my sketchbook right in the, not sketchbook. It held my sketch palette that I take with me right in that front little flap. I put a couple of water brushes on the inside. It was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. And I do recommend that little window, whatever palette you have at the time, slide it in there. That way when I do that, with the palette that I'm using here, I usually have on the one side, you see it right in front of you. It's the swatch of the palette. It looks right there. And it's a little bit, so I'd have to make it a little bit smaller. But you put it in there, and you can see the colors you're using, and then I could use that for the mixing part if I wanted to mix. Usually when I go out painting, do any kind of plein air painting or out in the park or whatever, I usually just mix on the page. I tend not to mix colors too much. But for this palette, I absolutely love the way the colors look when I mix them. So I highly recommend doing that. Second, I was doing this, and I said, at first I started doing, I was like, wow, this looks like, I think I want to do, as I was getting further and further along, and you can see when I start to put the brown at the bottom with the little green, I was thinking this is like a carnivorous plant in my head, but it could also be something else. I don't know. You tell me what you think it looks like. But I was just looking, I was like, oh yeah, that could be a thing. And that's how I ended up going about it. But I did want to test the paper a little bit too. So the paper here worked very well. I was able to layer a little bit. I got it soaking wet without a problem, no pilling, no problems. I was able to draw on it, no problem. And I used a brush tip. So it's a flexible brush tip from that Unipin set. Unipin? Is that what they're called? Are they Unipins? Let me see here. I've got one right here. Yes, Unipin fine liners. And I used the brush. And it's water and fade proof. It's pigment ink in these. So I use them a lot. The reason that I use them a lot is because the tips are a little bit more, I guess they're just tough. So even though they're not my favorite one to use, whenever I use cold pressed watercolor paper or rough watercolor paper, I tend to grab for these because the tips can handle it. And this one in particular, it has like a felt tip at the end of a piece of plastic, like a thin piece of plastic with a felt tip sticking out of it a little bit. It's a good brush pen. I absolutely love it. You can get some pretty thick lines with it or not, but it's kind of like those, what are the ones that I use all the time? The Tombow Furunosuke pens or whatever they're called. I'm not sure how they pronounce anything anymore. I use those all the time too. It's just like that. It's kind of in between on those. There's a more of a stiff one and more of a soft one. This one is kind of in between on those. It's a little softer if you want to push, but you can also pick up and make it very light, and you can get very thin lines with it. So it works pretty well. The point is, this book is pretty good. Let me tell you I have to look up what kind of paper this is because I still haven't looked it up. So let me figure this out. But I have used several sheets in here, and they've worked well. They've held up to my style of art. Anyway, that's all I can ever tell you. All I can tell you is what I do. So whenever you hear me say, "Oh yeah, this paper's good," understand it's good for me, for what I do. You always have to test things yourself. Always. It's always a part of it. Now, if you do something similar to what I do, or you do something in a similar way, even if it's more realistic, but it's in a similar way, I get it. It's fine, but you can take some of my advice. But understand, everything I tell you all the time, always, is based on my experience and what I do. Now, I did look up this paper, and it seems to be 100% cotton, acid-free watercolor paper, 140 pounds. So it's standard cold press watercolor paper, which is wonderful. And they're like 9 1/4 by 6.3 inches or something like that. They're a little bit more than 9 by 6. So they're nice. They're still compact. Look at the size of my hand versus the size of the page. I can stretch my hand across most of it. So it's a smaller setup, and it's good, compact. You can take it with you, throw it in your purse, throw it in your backpack, whatever it is you walk around with. Don't put it in your fanny pack. If you have a fanny pack, something's wrong. You need to go to therapy or something like that. But anyway, if you go with a regular bag or pack or whatever, that's fine. It'll work in there. Now, I also want to mention quickly that when using these quill brushes, I got it finally. I worked and I did this whole thing and had exactly the kind of the water control that I wanted for everything that I was doing. And if I went to put something down and it was a little bit, I thought maybe it could have been too wet a little bit, before anything got onto the page, I would dab it off and fix it and figure it out. So I think I'm getting very used to these brushes again, and I absolutely love them. So I will also put the regular Amazon link to these brushes again, because I want to encourage you, they are very inexpensive quill brushes. If it's something that you want to get into using, I would say use these. Doing this the way that I did with the wet towel. So the towel, I keep dabbing on it all the time. Every time I dip in the water, I hit the towel before I hit the paint. That's the way I think they need to be used, because that's how you can have the best water control. Unless you're looking to do like your underlying wash with a lot of water, which dilutes the paint a little bit. You see how I did that at the first layer. And then I go back in with the second layer and I add a lot more color. And I did that by controlling the water on the brush. And it's the hardest thing about watercolor is controlling your water. That's the most difficult part of it. If you can do that, you're set. I don't know why I have such an easy time doing it with a water brush, and I have a harder time doing it with these quill brushes. But now I got it. I think I have it figured out. And this piece turned out exactly how I wanted to using that brush. So I was able to get the exact kind of water control in there. So if you're going to get any kind of quills, you're looking to get them, try these out. They work absolutely wonderful. And I will also, like I said, put that link down there for them. Now, when it comes to the Lightwish watercolor sketchbook here that you get, I'm going to put a link down below of the one that I think this one is. There are many, many variations of this exact sketchbook. That's not true. Everything I just said there was a lie. So there's many variations of sketchbooks that look almost exactly like this. You have to look at, so some of the pocket, the paper's the same, and it's got the same 6 little binder rings there with the little spine there, and that's exactly the same. I think the inside texture, like that faux leather texture, and the outside canvas texture is the same, but some of them have different variations of flaps. Some have like this one, the one on the outside, and then the one big one on the inside, but then the little like card slots like this one has with the little window. Then other ones have 2 folded flaps on the inside, but nothing on the outside. Some of them tie together with a rope instead of the magnet. So I'm going to put the link of the one that I think this is. The one that when I look at it, I say, yes, that's it. It has the little window with the card slots and the thing. But I'm going to ask that they send you as close to this one as they can. But other one, they may have sent me one that they didn't want to send me, and they may have wanted to send me one with 2 flaps on the inside instead of the one. I don't know. So whatever you get, it'll be a variation of this. It might not be the exact looking one. I just want you to be aware of that. When you get it, it may be something, it'll be the same book with the same spine, the same 3 holes, the same paper. All of that will be the same. But I don't know if the flaps will be in the exact same spot when you win this and you receive it. However, the link that I post will have the exact same flaps in the one that I put down below. But it's just different. But again, it held up. I took it all over the place. And this is not a long-term review or anything. I'm not saying I took this thing through the rainforest or something, backpacking across. No, I didn't do any of that. I just took it to the park a few times. I took it outside my house a few times and used some paper and painted with it. And I actually like that it opens up, because it gives me something when I'm outside. It gives me something to clip my palette to. I use a little binder clip. I clip my palette on it, and I usually use the water brush out there, and I mix on the page. So that's what I do. But I still think it worked great, and I think it's a nice book. And again, all of these products that I'm showing to you are very cost effective. They're inexpensive and high quality. So I'm not going to do anything that's not. If I show you something and I don't think it's good quality, I will tell you that. Like I did with the brushes, those Meeden brushes. I told you right away, I don't think that they're working the flats are terrible. Don't use the flats. The rounds worked a little bit better. But the flats that I used, they dump the water. I would never recommend anyone using that. You will get frustrated. And I try and tell you things like that whenever I'm using it. So if I tell you something is good, it's because for the way that I use it, it works. And I think it's good. And I think this is a good quality book. I will keep this book. I'm going to travel. When I go somewhere, I'm probably going to bring a book like this, because it's easy to go around. It has little slots for your stuff. You can put your palette in there, your pen, water brush, whatever you're taking with you. And if you want to put leaves in the flaps and acorns and, oh, I found this little thing it's just a piece of paper that I decided I wanted to carry around in my sketchbook for no reason. So I'm going to cut this out of a magazine and stick it in my, whatever you do. You do what you do. You don't have to explain it to me. You don't have to tell me, well, this is why I do that. You don't have to defend yourself. It's okay. You do what you do. It's some of the things you do are strange to me. That's all I'm saying. And some of the things I do are probably strange to you. It's fine. We're all a part of this big happy family here. And families sometimes don't agree on everything. That's fine. So, let me tell you the people I do agree with, they're popping up on the screen right here, right now. I agree with them all the time. We talk, we have a great time. It's a wonderful experience. So the video, if you are going to at least look into this and look at something like this, I do recommend you just look at it. Very inexpensive, good quality. I don't see a downside to it. But you may not like this. Some people don't like the binders. Some people like the bound books. I get that. I like all sketchbooks. I am working on the video where I take my sketchbooks, every single one of them, and I go through them. But I love every kind of sketchbook. I like the hardbound. I like the ring binder. I like everything. So I like the pads. I like everything. So I'm just saying, I like this book. I think it's good. All right. If you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one.